time. Look, I got some really juicy information for you, and I'm so excited about talking about this topic, and hopefully you will love hearing about this too, because as the coming weeks and months go on and you're in this portal, I'm going to share everything that I know about this topic and how learning this information in the depth that I have and applying it in my life in the way that I have will absolutely transform your world and the way in which you honor yourself and you live your life. When you begin to implement these changes or this concept into your life will completely open up and your heart will open up, and your baby and babies that will to come will, my God, a gift that you are giving them when you begin to honor this. Okay, so I'm going to talk today about charting your menstrual cycle. And you may be someone that's already charting your menstrual cycle, and if you are, that's totally awesome. But don't hang up the video just yet, because I'm going to expand on some information that you may not know, but there's a very high possibility that you don't know of the depth that I'm going to go into here. So if you're charting your moon cycle, that's fantastic. If you are using good old-fashioned pen and paper, even better. Because in this very modern, busy world that we live in, it's like society has led us to believe that our period is annoying, right? We might have pain. We might want to go out on a Friday night with our friends. We start bleeding. We don't feel good. So we just whack a Tylenol or a Panadol and we go business as usual. We kind of pretend it's not happening. And, for a vast majority of women, they might, come out of school, get with a boyfriend or whatever. They start taking birth control because they don't want to get pregnant yet. And for the vast majority of women, they just completely disconnect from that part of their body until, of course, they are ready to conceive a baby. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy moly, I don't even know when I ovulate. I don't know anything about my body, and they might be 33 years old. I have one friend, a very dear friend of mine. She's in her early 40s and she hasn't given herself a period for 25 years. She just is on the pill and she just skips the sugar tablets and just keeps on going, and she thinks that's totally normal. Let me tell you right now, there is absolutely nothing normal about that. So you may be someone that, if you're trying to conceive a baby, which all of you here are calling your baby into your womb. So you may very well be charting your cycle. The vast majority of women who are charting their cycle, though, are using digital online ways of doing so, like period tracker, different apps like that. And, the problem with those apps is you might put in, how many days is your menstrual cycle? You might say 29. Okay, when was the first day of your last menstrual cycle? You say March the 12th. The app will then say, okay, 29 days from now, which will be, let's say, May the 12th, is when you'll be bleeding. So from March the 12th, exactly 2 weeks after that, you'll be ovulating, and exactly 2 weeks after that, you'll be bleeding. And a lot of women who are using these apps, they're oh, I had sex in the window when my app said, but, nothing happened. I didn't get pregnant. Well, there's a high chance that you're not making love at the right time, because those apps can never factor in real life. I've been charting my menstrual cycle for a really, really long time. And I can tell you, based on what's going on in my life, that sometimes I ovulate on day 10 of my cycle. And sometimes I ovulate on day 18 of my cycle. It can be really different. So if you have a month where you are particularly stressed, there's more stress hormones running through your body, like, cortisol, that may delay your ovulation. And if you're just going by what your app says, your period tracker, you're making love in this window, when in actual fact, your ovulation is 5, 6, 7, 9 days later. And then you know, when your period doesn't arrive on the day that you think it is, you think you're pregnant. I mean, it just sets up this whole thing of becoming more and more disconnected from our bodies. And when you begin to learn your body intimately in a few short months, you will never, ever not know when you are ovulating again. You know, and this is a really big, expansive topic, and I am going to delve into it in all different areas in other videos. But for this one video, I'm mostly going to focus on charting your menstrual cycle. But I'm just not going to teach you how to chart your cycle. I'm going to teach you how to chart your cycle in accordance with the moon. And I'm going to tell you why that's really important. Did you know that, and probably you do, did you know that, you know, before electricity was invented, that every single woman on the planet menstruated with the dark moon, new moon, and ovulated with the full moon? That was because the light of the moon dictated the woman's menstrual cycle. You have an entire system inside of you that navigates around nature. Your menstrual cycle is governed by the moon. You have 4 seasons: summer, autumn, winter, spring, within your menstrual cycle. And I'm going to do another video where I'm going to really delve into that in another time. But for right now, we're just going to focus on the moon and the basics and why that is. So there's 4 main moon phases that women do ovulate and menstruate under. So the first one is a white moon phase, and that is when you ovulate with the full moon. The second is a red moon phase, and that is when you ovulate with the dark or the new moon. And then we have the pink moon cycle. It's when you menstruate with the waxing moon. That's when it's not quite full, but it's building up to full. And the last most common is the purple moon cycle. And that is when you menstruate in the last quarter, the waning, when the moon is waning down to dark. And why is this important to know? It's so important to know because, how will I put this? Every moon phase has different energy associated and attached to it. So, for example, if you are ovulating with the full moon, that is typically a very mothering phase of your life. So you could already have young children, or you could be mothering yourself so that you can step into that mothering role. You're really mothering yourself, and you're juicy and luscious, and you're stepping into your feminine. Juicy. And that was the moon cycle that I conceived my son under. My son was conceived on a full moon. It was a super wolf moon, actually, and there was a cyclone at the time, so it felt crazy. Or if you could be on a red moon cycle, and a red moon cycle is typically when you are really in the underworld of your soul. You are really delving into all that no longer serves, and you're letting go of all of that stuff. And it could be, you know, a relationship's ended, or you've had a miscarriage, or, you know, you're letting go of you know, things. And, you know, does it mean you can't conceive a baby on a red moon cycle? No, it doesn't. It just means that there's going to be different challenges coming up for you in your life than someone who is on a white moon cycle. This is why it's really important to know this stuff, because all of the different moon phases, the 9 different phases of the moon's in each phase for approximately 3 days, have a different energy available to them. So when you begin to learn this energy, for example, you could be charting your cycle, and after a couple of months of charting your cycle, you learn, oh my God, every month, 4 days before my period, I turn into this crazy woman, and I just cry for no reason, and I'm really short-tempered, and I get really upset at my partner. If you know that in advance, you can prepare for it and you can plan. You don't go out on dinner dates and to see your friends when you know you're going to be like that, because your soul, your mind, your body, your spirit is calling you inward. Calling you inward, right? Or if you go, okay, I always have a really big spike of energy just before I menstruate, right? Some women do. So just before you menstruate, you have this big spike of energy, and that's when you love to clean your house. That's when you love to clean out your wardrobe. You begin to learn. So you don't try and clean your closet out, any other time in the cycle, because that's when you love doing it. You just know what energy you operate under. When you begin to implement this energy into your life, you never feel like you're fighting against the current of life. Everything feels effortless and easy and in flow. And that's what we want. That's what we want as mothers, and that's what we want in our life. So I am working on a fandangled, charting journal for this that's going to be out, and you members will get a beautiful, beautiful discounted copy should you choose to take it up. But for now, I've just got a single page chart. You can print it off, leave it next to your bed, put it up on your wall, whatever. All right, so I'm going to screen share here. Screen share, yes. All right. All right, so here we have a moon cycle chart. It's super simple. I've got the instructions written down the bottom of the chart here, or you can watch this video again for reference. So on the top right of the chart, it says outside circle are the lunar days. So the outside circle, numbers 1 through to 29, represent the cycle days of a lunar cycle. The first day of a lunar cycle is the new moon. The last day of a lunar cycle, number 29, is the dark moon. Okay? And, other videos, I'm going to go right into this. But for now, I think it's really important just to get the basics and not to confuse you. The middle circle, this light circle here, underneath the numbers, is just a light panel there, is where you record the cycle day and the date. All right. So cycle day, when you start, obviously the first day of your menstrual cycle is cycle day 1. And then the inner circle, or the inner, there's a little quadrant there, is where you record the prominent emotions, right? And then, all right, now that's one part of it, right? So I'm going to sort of expand on how it works. So we want to know, so that we can track what phase of the moon we're in when we're bleeding, so that we can know whether we're on a white moon cycle, a red moon cycle, a pink moon cycle, or a purple moon cycle. And there are some others, but they're the main 4. So we can know what cycle of the moon phase we are on. I've got in the top left corner, check the moon phase. I've got a web address there. So we're going to check what day of the moon phase we're on. So I'm going to imagine that today, October the 27th, is day 1 of my menstrual cycle, which means it's the day that I start bleeding. So day 1 of the menstrual cycle. All right, so this is a moon phase calendar. Now, just keeping in mind that if you don't use this one and you use a different one, that's fine. But all, the moon phases that I've got written here, they do vary a little bit from site to site. So I've got new moon, crescent moon, first quarter moon, gibbous moon, full moon, disseminating moon, third quarter moon, balsamic moon. Some of those names do change a little bit. So I like this particular website because it tells you exactly how many days it is until either the next new moon or the full moon, which means you can sort of figure out exactly what day you're on. So let's go through and pretend that today's the day. It's the 27th of October. It's 2021. We want to calculate. Okay, so the moon phase is the waning gibbous moon, right? So the next full moon is in 22 days, or the next new moon is in 8 days. All right, so let's go back to my moon charting cycle here. So we've got the next new moon is in 8 days. So we want to count back 8 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right now we are on cycle 20 day, 22 of the lunar cycle, right? We are in the waning part of the cycle towards the next new moon. So here in this section, forget about this being number 22. This is just for you to know what cycle of the moon you're going to menstruate in, right? So, and ovulate. So here in this section, right, October 27th, so just Oct 27, cycle day 1. Okay? October 27, cycle day 1. And in this section here, you've got some space. I mean, I know it's not a lot, but you can just write small. The predominant feelings that you have. So maybe you woke up with a headache, or maybe you're feeling really lethargic, or maybe you're just like, you know, you're just really inward. So you write inward, lethargic, don't want to go out, want to be at home. Just a couple of descriptive words around what that feels like. Okay, and then the next day, you don't really need to write the date again, but then you go here, cycle day 2, cycle day 3, cycle day 4, cycle day 5, and so forth all the way around. Cycle day 6, cycle day 7, cycle day 8, cycle day 9, etc., etc. And then keep a note when you're getting up towards your ovulation. Don't just think about feelings or emotions. Think about body fluids as well. Do I have any discharge? Do I have any like slippery juices? Do I have the egg yolk that's, you know, sort of quite common with ovulating? Did I feel an ovulation pang, right? So then, you know, you keep going around, and on the day that you think you ovulate, put a little O there next to the outside of the calendar. So I think that's the day I ovulated. And then you can start looking at, okay, well, what was the moon doing on that day, right? And then after a month or two, you'll start to learn what moon you're bleeding on and what moon you are ovulating on. So this is really important to get to know when we're going to go further into really exploring the archetypes of this moon energy and what it means in your life. So that's basically the crux of it. I'm going to put the moon cycle PDF there for you to print out and for you to use. If you've got any questions, you don't really know what you're doing, it's all a bit confusing, please drop me a message or a note in the comments. You know, no question is too silly. Ask anything. And as we go along through the journey of this, I'm going to include like meditations under different moons so that you can start to feel what is a gibbous moon and what energy is available to me under a gibbous moon. You know, kind of most people know the full moon and the new moon, but all of the other moons have so many gifts for us once we begin to attune our ear to that information. And then when we begin expanding on, you know, that when you're bleeding, it's just like winter. It's calling you inward. It's the death, the decay, the letting go of what no longer is. And then you look at your ovulation. That's like summer. That's full bloom. That's expansion. That's excitement. That's joy. So once we begin to really open up this energy and exploring what this looks like in your life, I promise you, you are going to just live a life beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day. I love you all.